All right, what is up, Fantasy Football Squad? We are back. Week 2 in the books. We saw a lot of interesting matchups in week 2, but more importantly than that, we saw more trades than I've ever seen in my life in one day, just today. Let's just get your initial thoughts on the sheer amount of trades we saw today. I think this has got to be a new record.
Yeah, I mean, I think we counted before this. It was 8 total trades if we count Ryan's trade last week. So 7 trades happening today. I was texting Chris just maybe an hour or two ago saying I think the most we've ever seen in a single season at most was 5. Like, I don't remember this many trades ever in a single season, not alone a day. So crazy stuff. I mean, these trades, man, some of these trades are crazy. It's just open the floodgates. I wonder if there's going to be any more like in the coming weeks.
I can't even imagine that there's anybody even left that wants to be traded. I just wow, just blew my mind today. And yes, like you said, some of them very insane. And we are going to get into all of them. But first, we are going to determine our next mini game winner for the week. Just like last week, we got the random number generator out. Jacob's gonna generate us some numbers. First one that pops up twice is gonna be the winner. We've gone through and figured out who's won each category this week. So root for your number. Let's get it rocking.
Yeah, and I just want to point out we had a tie for the most defensive points, which was James and Chris. Both had 19. So the tiebreaker for that is going to be whoever wins their matchup, and they both won. So the tiebreaker for that is going to be just whoever had the most points. So James outscored Chris this week, so that's why he's going to have that category or mini game category. So just if that ever happens again, that's going to be kind of the format we do. But I know you guys are eager for me to click this button a couple of times, so let's do it.
I got to interject. Lubasi's defense also had 19 points.
Oh, did he really?
Yeah, I was just thinking that when I saw that because I was like, I know Lubasi had the Bills, and the Bills had a hell of a game. They put up 19.
Okay, so wait, Chris. Okay, I read because Chris' defense put up 10.
Oh, I see.
Okay, well, so James gets it anyway because Lubasi lost, so he would have been the first. So James gets it. My bad. I thought Chris. For some reason, I read the 19 on Chris's tab, but glad you caught it. Yeah, Jake got it. But all right, here we go. Let's generate the first number here.
Let's see some 8s.
2, which we can't do anyway because that's the bye week, so that doesn't count. 3.
3. That's the Bossy with the highest points in a loss. 12.
12. 10.
3, 12, 10.
6.
3, 12, 10, 6. Dang, I got nothing here.
9.
10, 6, 9.
8.
There's an 8. Let's go.
9.
Oh, 9 wins it. Best
Johnny with the best.
With a loss.
Yep. So Johnny had Kyler Murray put up 33 and took the loss from Dom. So Johnny is our week 2 winner. I'll mess with that later, but week 2 winner, Johnny. So congratulations, Johnny. You just won $10. So
nice. Chipping away at that buy-in.
A little chip away, yep. All right, so how we're going to do this, I have this roto trade. This is how I, analyze all your guys' trades just for the point system. I think it just kind of gives me it gives us a good understanding of, is the trade fair, and then kind of go on that. But people have their own opinions, so I just kind of use this as just another way to see what other people think, I guess. But Ryan's going to say the trade. I'm going to put the names in the box, and then we'll kind of just debate / talk about all these trades.
Yeah, so talked at the beginning of the show or off air. Jacob wanted to jump back into last week and start with me and Chewy's trade, which is actually perfect because the thesis that I used to make that trade actually played out perfectly this week, which I'll get into after we see this grade. Okay, so I mean, a lot closer than people made it seem. People were acting like I got fleeced on this trade, and I didn't see it. And after we get into some of the ones today, you'll see how I really did not get fleeced because some guys today took some real hard L's. But my whole thesis behind this was that I couldn't trust Darrell Henderson's health for a whole season as a feature back. And wouldn't you know it, in week 2, not only does Brandon Cooks outscore Darrell Henderson, but he goes down with his first injury of the year. He might miss some time. I mean, this couldn't have played out more perfectly to exactly what I said. I got read receipts to prove this is exactly what I thought was going to happen, and it did. So that's all I'm going to say about this trade, and you can tell me what you think now.
Yeah, I think last week when I actually ran the numbers, I think Darrell Henderson had like a grade of 67, I believe. Whatever I put on Facebook, that's what it was. But of course, when now he's a little bit banged up, his value goes down. But yeah, I mean, the problem that, the bearish side of things, I guess, for you would have been that Henderson was a 4th-round pick, Cooks was a 9th-round pick. You could have got Cooks, whenever you really wanted to in the late rounds. But it did work out so far. Cooks did look good last week. Henderson looked good before he got injured. So, I mean, if he's staying healthy and if he's actually back next week, he is the lead back for St. Louis. And now they have a problem with, like, if Sony Michel actually starts showing out while Henderson's hurt, that's going to, cut in his carries. So it's going to be interesting to see what Rams do with Henderson and that backfield. But I mean, the trade definitely got better from last week. I will say that.
Yeah. Yeah, I can't say it enough. This is exactly what I expected to happen, and it happened. I was looking to shop Darrell Henderson ever since I got him because I knew he had an injury history his whole career, and now he's taking on a bigger workload than he has ever taken on. And like you said, Sony Michel. He's going to at the very least, even if Henderson plays this next game, Sony is going to get more usage because Henderson's a little banged up. So, I mean, nonetheless, I think this is going to become more and more closer to a committee backfield than people realize.
And I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if Darrell Henderson actually sits out next game because they play the Buccaneers, and that's a very good defense. So
yeah, and Brandon Cooks is like the only guy catching passes in Houston, so he's going to get probably 12 to 15 targets a game. And if you get 12 catches, that equals a touchdown, and I'll take those odds all day.
All right, so yeah, we'll go to our next trade, which was I think Lubasi and Jimmy's trade. So yeah, if you want to say that out loud,
it was Devonta Smith and Joe Mixon from Jimmy's team. And he was getting Melvin Gordon and Devonta Adams, the number 1 receiver in fantasy.
So, yeah, so you can see this was extremely fair, but for these guys, it's going to be a no on, I think, giving Joe Mixon and getting Devonta Adams. But so this is Jimmy's side of the deal. But I mean, I actually think Jimmy won this trade. I voted for Jimmy to win this trade when we did the Facebook votes. But the only reason I voted for Jimmy, if I think a trade is a tie, I'm gonna go with whoever got the best player. And Devonta Adams is the best player in this trade. But I think Lubasi and Jimmy, this is a very, very fair deal.
Yeah, this is probably one of the better trades. Definitely probably the best trade we saw today. Maybe one other one we'll talk about, but this was very even trade. I don't know. I think Jimmy definitely wins this too. I don't think Joe Mixon is one of those guys that I feel confident in going into every single week yet. He's definitely had a couple good games, but I personally wouldn't trust him yet. But this very well could pay off for Lubasi if Joe Mixon continues to have a great season.
Yeah, and I think Adams, I mean, they look good. The Packers look good against the Lions, but I mean, it was against the Lions. So, like, I don't know how much stock you can put on that. They actually play the 49ers, I believe, on Monday or Sunday night football, maybe. So that's going to be another very good defense. No, yeah, because they played the Saints week 1. So that's another very good defense for the 49ers that could spell some trouble. So I really think the Packers offense, this is the true test, is this week. I mean, the Lions are the Lions. They're going to run over them because the defense is just bad. But this 49ers team, the defense is a lot better from last year because of injuries. Right. People getting back from injuries. So I think this is the true test. And if you see Rodgers, Adams, and Jones not perform, I think that's when you kind of start putting the panic button on those Packers guys.
I think what has to concern somebody with Devonta Adams has got to be the amount of red zone passes that were going to Aaron Jones instead of Devonta Adams. Like, Aaron Jones, I think, got 2 of his 4 touchdowns last night were passes inside the 10-yard line, which I've seen a lot of Devonta Adams touchdowns in the past within that range. So, man, they are running through Aaron Jones like crazy. I know it was just one game, but that the first 2 weeks put together, there's a little bit of concern around Devonta Adams right now. But I know Jimmy's a huge Packers fan. He's got Aaron Rodgers, and it very well could be, I mean, the stack that we've all known and loved for the last however many years.
Yeah, and that's, I mean, one thing me and Jimmy were talking about before our trade happened, which we'll get to next, is that, you know, he really wanted Adams because of the stack. So he got Adams and Rodgers, and he's just putting his chips in that pot. So I guess we'll have to see how it goes.
Yeah, so we can now get into what I would probably consider the absolute worst trade of the day, where Jacob receives Christian McCaffrey. Oh, you're going on your guys. All right, where Jacob gives up Tyreek Hill, Robert Woods, Jamal Williams, and Damian Harris, and receives Christian McCaffrey, unbelievably. Not Colt McCoy. Should have been Colt McCoy. Christian McCaffrey, Julio Jones, Chuba Hubbard, and Justin Jefferson, a wide receiver 1.
All right, so I will start with
my
reasoning and my thing with the trade. Wow. So I was giving 200 points, and I was getting 232, 233 points. The spread is not as, bad as it may seem, or let Ryan may seem, but I definitely think I won the trade. Jimmy and I had an honest conversation about it, and he really, was all in on the plan that he assembled for himself, and he really wanted to, I guess, just do that plan. So I know a couple of you guys texted me, and I know one guy I texted about, and I really kind of try to break it down into like Jimmy's point of view. So like, if I had to kind of think for Jimmy, I really don't think he wanted the first pick. I think first pick is a pretty tough pick to have. And I think he wasn't really wanting first pick before the draft started. So he really didn't want Christian McCaffrey, which made him available after week 2. And then he really didn't love the 2 picks he picked after back-to-back after, which was Justin Jefferson and Joe Mixon. And he just really didn't like his team. And then the first 2 weeks kind of showed that an 0-2 start, he needed to make changes. So I just want to say one thing before I turn it to Ryan for him to say. So Jimmy had pick 1, 24, and 25, which he got Christian McCaffrey, Jefferson, and Mixon. And then he came away with pick 7, which was Adams, pick 13, which was Hill, and pick 36, which was Woods. So if you kind of break it down into those 3 categories, or those 3 picks at least, I don't think he actually did that bad. And I guess I'll just turn it over to you.
I mean, there is no doubt in anyone's mind who has benefited extremely more from this than the other party. I mean, you got the number one fantasy player overall, over any position, the number one guy, highest ceiling of probably anybody, right? Christian McCaffrey for your number one pick. Okay, that's great. You gave up a couple other guys, but also got a wide receiver one to replace the wide receiver one that you just traded. You got to keep your current RB1, who's now an RB1 that's going to be your RB2. And you have Mike Evans, who had one bad week. People think that because of that one bad week, he's like nothing now. But if they saw him in week 2, Mike Evans as the flex, I mean, this is, and then Julio Jones, who could turn out to be the old Julio at any point in the season. Like, I mean, to give up a couple of guys that, I mean, Jamal Williams was on your bench. Like, and maybe I'm like, all this is because I'm playing you. I definitely have a little bit more, just a hair more anger tapped onto this just because I'm playing you this week when it happens. But even without that, I think this sets your team up. Like, Jimmy, if your guys don't get hurt, I think Jimmy might have just handed you another trophy.
I do want to say that I've been trying to get rid of Evans probably longer than you've been trying to get rid of Darrell Henderson. Well, maybe not that long, but I've been trying to push Evans onto people. But yeah, nobody liked Evans. So, and even I tried to push Evans onto Jimmy instead of Robert Woods, which they were really close, especially in this roto trade. I think they're like 0.7 apart, but Jimmy was really high on Robert Woods. He's gotten a slow start. Cooper Kupp's kind of been the guy there, but I honestly think Robert Woods is a very good, consistent guy. And Robert Woods is Jimmy's flex now, so you got to think that too.
Julio Jones could have been his flex. He's a higher scorer on the board.
Right, but Julio Jones, I think there's more questions in Tennessee in that offense than they are with the Rams. I think Rams, their offense looks like a pass-happy offense, and the Titans still run through Derrick Henry. So I think Robert Woods gets more looks than Julio Jones, but Julio Jones could have, more yards or, something like that. But again, these scores are just, another person. I think it's just more of comparisons. But I think if anyone's like in single digits within each other, I think it can, flip it. Like, you can have different opinions. So like Julio Jones and Robert Woods, I would definitely take Robert Woods over Julio Jones any day of the week. And to some, they would take Julio Jones. So it's really just kind of a who do you like more in that situation.
Yeah, I don't know. I know that you see this a lot less lopsided than I do, but I mean, look at the GIF. Look at the GIF on the reaction, dude. That is how excited that guy is to make this trade, because it is unbelievably beneficial for you. And he also kind of has your mindset. If DeAndre Swift gets hurt, I mean, Jamal Adams, is a number two running back. So he kind of has that. He thinks Swift is not gonna play the whole year. So kind of your strategy too. I don't know. Jamal Williams, though, he's got some injury history to him too.
He does. But if he doesn't play often enough, I guess, I don't know. I mean, if you guys want to talk to Jimmy, I think Jimmy is probably more of like, why'd you do this trade? I'm more of a just like, I mean, the trade happened.
I bet you are. I'd be real happy if I were you. I wouldn't be saying a word. And I told Jimmy that he very well may have just handed you another trophy.
I mean, honestly, me and Jimmy talked about it and we agreed upon it, and he likes what he did. And I like what I did. So
I'm sure you do. Let's move on to the next one. Next one is Jeff. Oh yeah. Okay. Jeff and Rudy. So Jeff gives up Miles Sanders and receives Calvin Ridley. Oh yeah. We did attention to the league. We did throw Nyheim Hines in this. Calvin Ridley, Cordero Patterson, and Zach Moss.
Yeah, so for Nyheim Hines, he's going to be on the waivers, I think Thursday. I'm going to put this on Facebook too. Do not pick him up. I'm going to put him on Rudy's team. I don't know why they did the trade this way, but I talked to Rudy and Jeff. about kind of how they did it, and it was just weird. So we're gonna bring Heinz over to Rudy's team. Who am I missing?
Zach
Moss.
Moss.
All right. So I haven't actually analyzed this trade, so it's gonna be interesting to see how this is. Okay, so from this is in Jeff's point of view. So they are happy about this trade, which I think I would be ecstatic about this trade if I was Jeff.
Yeah, and especially if you take out that 17 from Naeem Hines, this looks unbelievable. So, yeah, I think I'd be happy about that too. I mean, Calvin Ridley gets that whole score combined.
Yeah, he does. Yeah, I knew this was going to be lopsided when I texted Rudy like, "Hey, I think this is going to be a little lopsided. Can we just add Heinz to the trade?" And he said that's fine. So that's why that happened. But I mean, yeah, Ridley is a bona fide, at worst, top 10 wide receiver, and I don't think Miles Sanders is. I mean, Miles Sanders at best could maybe be top 15 running back.
I'd say top 20.
I was gonna say top 20, but like I wanted to give him a little bit of.
I don't know, man. I had him last year, and he sure didn't look very great in week 2.
But I'll ask you a question, right? From Rudy's point of view, knowing that you have, I don't even know if you can say a stacked wide receiver core, but knowing that you have one of the worst running back cores in the league, I really shouldn't say worst, just a very high risk, high reward running back core. Does this make sense?
Well, let's see who his other receivers are going to be now that he's not going to have Ridley, unless you can name
Lockett and so he's going to have Lockett
and Samuel. And then he's going to have Saquon Barkley and Miles Sanders. I think, like you said, it's very high risk, high reward. Saquon Barkley is not the Saquon Barkley from his rookie year that we remember. Rudy, I think, is sticking to his guns on that. I heard he thinks he's the best player in the league. And then now he gets Miles Sanders, who's also a very middle-of-the-road running back. So I don't know. I don't love that core. He gives up, like you said, at worst, a top 10 wide receiver in Calvin Ridley, who has potential to be like top 3. For Tyler Lockett, who in my opinion is kind of boomer bust, and now that's his wide receiver 1 to fill that role. He's had 2 great weeks, and if he can keep up that consistency, I mean, damn, that's great. And maybe that's what Rudy's banking on here. But I mean, we've seen Tyler Lockett put up like single-digit games, no problem, too. So I don't know. And Deebo Samuel, same thing. Like, we've seen him have 2 great weeks, but is this abnormal? Is Ayuk going to start getting more involved in the offense? I don't know. I don't know if I like this for Rudy. I definitely think Jeff wins this trade. But, you know, as with everything, things could pan out in just about any way. So we'll see where it goes. I still think yours is way more lopsided.
I mean, in Rudy's point of view, I don't hate this trade. I think he gets a little bit. So now Williams is your flex, while Sanders is your number 2 and Barkley's your number 1. I mean, very well could be Barkley returns back to normal in like week 6, and he could be a top 5 running back. So, I mean, it seems a little lopsided, you know, on the trade analysis, but I think in Rudy's team, it's not bad. Still, if I was Rudy, I don't think I make this trade. I think I like Ridley a little bit more than Sanders, and I would just kind of roll the dice with Williams as my RB2 and has Deebo as the flex. But I mean, it's not crazy to think this was like out of this world lopsided.
Yeah, no, and I didn't think that either. I did think that when it was one guy, when it was just Sanders for all 3 of those guys, I did kind of raise an eyebrow at that. Add Heinz in there to make up for the other 2 guys. It makes a little bit more sense. But yeah, end of the day, I think Jeff wins that one. But things could pan out, like I said, in just about any way possible.
Yeah, I also think Jeff wins that, but yeah, well, I mean, we'll see. So we'll go to the next trade, which will be
Jeff and Dom, Miles Gaskin for James White. This one was interesting.
again, never did this for this one.
I'm gonna interested to see. Yeah, okay. That makes about as much sense as it did in my head. Yeah, so Jeff gives up a starting running back, albeit for the Miami Dolphins, okay, for the Patriots backup running back that has a passing role, but absolutely does not have a consistent floor that I would be sending away a running back that starts that is probably guaranteed at minimum 10 to 15 touches a game. What do you think?
Yeah, I think this is a little head scratcher to me too. I think James White, I actually looked at this before the podcast. James White's actually the 18th best running back this year, while Miles Gaskin's the 37th best. So not saying that makes this trade even, but it kind of like raises a little eyebrow that says, okay, maybe James White isn't as bad or like as bad as we think. I know I've watched a lot of Patriots games this year just because I had Damian Harris and I have Hunter Henry. So I do see Mac Jones checking down a lot, and James White is usually the person he checks down to. He's gotten 6 catches in both games. He actually got a rushing touchdown in week 1 that I was pissed about because he stole it from Damian Harris. So, I mean, it's interesting to see James White. I think James White has a floor, but I don't think his ceiling is high enough for a Miles Gaskin type of player. But I think if he wants consistency, I think James White gets you a consistent, 7 or 8 points a week. It's just I don't think he gets you over 15 ever this year.
I don't think that his floor is super consistent because if they're controlling a game and they're passing less, he's not going to be involved as much. I don't know. I think he definitely has the potential to put up numbers any given week for sure, but that's definitely a roll of the dice. Whereas I said, you got Miles Gaskin, who is going to be out there for over 60% of the snaps and getting, 10, 15 touches guaranteed probably every game, if not more. I don't know. I think this one's a little strange to me. I'm not going to veto it or anything. If this is what Jeff wants to do and he thinks it's good for him, that's fine. The baby over there certainly thinks that Dom wins this trade. And the description at the bottom says this is a no-brainer, and I completely agree. If somebody offered me this trade, I'll take Miles Gaskin all day. I actually offered to give Darrell Henderson to Jeff for Miles Gaskin last week, and he said no. So this really puzzles me.
He is high on James White. I would have took the Darrell Henderson if I was him. But I think – yeah, we'll see what Miles Gaskin does. There's 3 running backs in Miami, and Gaskin got a lot less carries last week than he did 2 weeks ago. So it'll be interesting, especially if Tua's out. That means they're going to crowd that box even more, and that offense is just going to be a mess without Tua. So I don't know. Maybe Jeff knows a little bit more about Tua's injury than we do, but I think would rather take Gaskin with an injured Tua, but I think it's a lot closer if that's actually happens, but that's just kind of a made up story.
I would just go into each week feeling if you had James White in your RB2 spot versus Gaskin in your RB2 spot, I'd feel a little bit more confident, probably a lot more confident having Gaskin in there as opposed to James White, knowing that he could really drop a dinger on you.
Yeah, so it'll be interesting to see how that one plays out, but we'll go to the next trade, which was...
Next trade was Dom and Chris. We have Dom trading David Johnson and Darnell Mooney, who I really wanted, for Latavius Murray and A.J. Dillon. 2 backup running backs for a backup running back and a wide receiver too. Well, David Johnson probably isn't considered a backup. They kind of committee there.
But you also got to think Dom has Aaron Jones, so that Dillon is a good get for him.
Yeah, that's a big grab. Like I said, I like Darnell Mooney, especially with possible Justin Fields getting in there for the starting position or starting quarterback. I think that could elevate Mooney's numbers a little bit. Passing offense might be a little bit more explosive. But yeah, I mean, David Johnson, that's actually a lot lower than I would have thought. That 12.6.
Dude, the Texans are, they're going with Philip Lindsay and Mark Ingram more than David Johnson, it seems like.
Yeah. So I guess, you know what? I honestly keep forgetting that Mark Ingram is in Houston. David Johnson is a backup, if not a third string running back.
Right.
But, at the end of the day, I don't think this trade is super lopsided. I mean, it's 38-36, very close trade. I think Dom getting the handcuffs really great. But I also think Chris getting Darnell Mooney is a pretty solid addition too for his bench. And the other two guys are kind of negligible. Latavius Murray has scored a touchdown in his first 2 games.
So who wins?
Who wins? Man, I don't know. This is a tough call. I'm going to say that. Go ahead.
Yeah, I'm going to say Dom wins. I think just getting A.J. Dillon by himself makes this the winner of the trade. I like Mooney too. I think he's going to be a good depth piece, but would you rather have depth as your wide receiver or a handcuff of your number 1 pick? And I think I'd always go handcuff. I think there's a lot of receivers out there that you can pick up off the waivers that could do just as good as a job as Mooney. But Mooney could break out, like you said, with Fields and Fields going downfield more. But I just really like that A.J. Dillon handcuff that Dom got here.
Yeah, I think I'd probably have to agree. I mean, the value of that, if Aaron Jones goes down, A.J. Dillon immediately becomes top 15, top 10 running back. So, yeah, I'd probably have to agree. But again, this one's really close, tough to call. If we look at this at the end of the season, this one could easily go either way. So, solid trade, better than a few other ones that we've seen today. So let's go to the next one, which is Chris and James. We got Chris trading Devin Singletary and Kenny Galladay for James Robinson and Michael Pittman. This one was another one that I thought was very close. Oh, wow. Way close. Holy cow. 0.5.
0.5, yes.
Yeah. So, I mean, this is a really fair trade. I think this one basically comes down to your thesis of who you think is going to have future success season long. I like the Michael Pittman grab here. I had my eyes on him in the draft. I've liked what I've seen. I mean, T.Y. Hilton, I think, is going to be coming back soon. So I'm not sure how that wide receiver depth chart's going to play out. I know Pascal's been playing pretty well. And so I'm not sure how the Colts receiving is going to go, but I have liked Pittman. Kenny Galladay on the Giants. He's a great receiver in a shaky offense. So I don't know. I think Pittman and Galladay, those are pretty interchangeable in my opinion. And kind of same thing, James Robinson and Singletary, both starting running back-ish for their teams. James Robinson's been off to a rough season compared to where he was last year. Devin Singletary has always kind of been super inconsistent, although he's, I think, had a couple good games this year. So, yeah, I think this trade is just extremely close. What do you think?
Yeah, they're pretty low on Devin Singletary. I think Devin Singletary deserves a little bit better score, which makes James, I would think, edge out Chris just by a tad. I think, again, this is a very close deal. But, yeah, Devin Singletary's looked good. Moss has vultured a couple touchdowns from Singletary. But Singletary does have fumbling issues, so that's an issue for Singletary. If he fumbles and he gets, benched. I don't know if he gets benched, but, they don't hand it off to him as often.
Right.
But that's been his kind of calling, that his problem. But I do think Singletary, it's interesting to me. I think I would rather take Galladay instead of Pittman, but it's very close. And honestly, I think I'd rather take James Robinson over Singletary, but again, very close. But I do like Singletary more so than I like Pittman, if that makes sense.
I would say that I would rather have Robinson and Pittman, and I think I agree that Galladay edges out Pittman just a little bit, also because I think there's much more talent in Indy than there is in New York. But I like James Robinson more than Singletary, more enough to push this. I think James Robinson, Michael Pittman win this trade. So, what do you think? Who wins?
Yeah, I think Galladay and Singletary wins. I think James edges out just a tad. I think they're a little high on Galladay and a little low on Singletary. I think you put 5 more points on Singletary and you can take away 5 from Galladay, something kind of like that. But I think I'd rather have Singletary and Galladay, but it's super close. But I do Pittman was on my radar too. So
we disagree on this one.
We do disagree.
I think that James Robinson is still poised to have a potential season. I mean, he's still the starting running back. I think Carlos Hyde is the backup in Jacksonville. But James Robinson, I think, is still seeing most of the carries. I think he's struggling with a struggling offense, but I definitely think there's more potential for Robinson to bounce back. And Singletary's always got Moss hawking touchdowns from him in the background too.
Yeah, I mean, I think especially with Jacksonville, I think the difference between last year James Robinson and this year's James Robinson is, and we've seen it this past 2 weeks, the focus is on Trevor Lawrence. So they're going to throw a lot more than they did last year, just because they want to get Lawrence reps and they want him to get game action behind center. So I think they're less inclined to run the ball more, when last year they just wanted to run and out the clock because they wanted to get Lawrence already. So I think that's a problem in Jacksonville, or not in Jacksonville, but that's the problem with James Robinson. But like you said, he can bounce back and he does catch balls from the backfield. So it'll be interesting to see what James Robinson will. I thought he was going to have a very good year, but watching the 2 Jags games that I've watched, it really seems that Lawrence, which he should be, is the focal point of that offense.
Yeah, but nonetheless, very even trade there. Nice work, fellas. Only one left. Our last trade of the day. We got Team Jeff trading away Kenyon Drake for Rob Gronkowski. Jeff and John. Okay, so it looks like Jeff takes the cake on this one, according to Roto Trade, getting Rob Gronk for Kenyon Drake. And I think I have to agree. I think Gronk elevates his tight end position quite a bit. And Kenyon Drake was coming off his bench. So I think Jeff wins this trade, and I don't think it's super lopsided, but I also don't think it's super close. But also I think this is one of those trades where each team's kind of filling a different need. So for Johnny, he needed a running back. I don't think this is necessarily a bad trade for him, but I do think Jeff wins this just based off of the value it brings to his team.
Yeah, and Johnny handcuffs Josh Jacobs, so if he's out for another couple of weeks, he has Kenyon Drake. I don't think he plays Jacobs and Drake at the same time, so I think this is just pure handcuff. And I don't know. I haven't read an injury report on Josh Jacobs, so I really don't know how long he's out. I know he didn't play last week. I really don't even know what happened to him. I don't know if it's like an ankle or I don't know what happened to him. But Gronkowski is a weird fella, because he was like a 14th, 13th round pick. I don't know if he was that late. And he's just bursted out in the scene. Johnny has Hawkinson, so he's rarely going to play at Gronk. And they both have the same bye week, so he's really, if he likes Hawk as much as he does, he's never going to play Gronk. So I think Johnny tried to just get as much value as he could with his bench tight end. And like you said, I don't think he did a bad job. I think he could have maybe got more, but I think if he values the handcuff more so than, a couple more points in value in this trade, I think handcuffs are pretty valuable in in any trade, more so than you're seeing with the points.
Yeah, and I think Josh Jacobs is questionable to play again this week. He was out last week, so maybe Johnny's making a play for that. Could be in and out of all season. Who knows? Like I said, I think definitely these guys were both filling a need that they had. If Josh Jacobs is out, Johnny desperately needs a running back. So now he's got his backup, and Jeff needed a tight end. Gets a pretty good one. So, yeah, I think this is a pretty good trade. But like I said, I do think Jeff wins this just based off of the value he gets here.
So I guess now that was the last trade, I guess I got a question for you. How do you think overall, if you could grade Jeff's trades today, what would you give Jeff?
All of his trades combined?
All of his trades combined, how did Jeff do day one of Trade Palooza?
Well, this one helps him out a little bit because this one was pretty good, but his Gaskin for White one I don't think was a good idea. And then, like I said, I think he won with the Ridley one, so I'll give him a B minus.
A B minus, okay.
What do you think?
I'd probably give Jeff a B. I'd say B. I don't like the White trade, but I think I like him more than you. I think the only problem with Jeff's team that we talked about is his running back 2 is James White. So he's going to be struggling to find an RB2 if White does not work out. Like literally it's either White or Zach Moss, and those are not screaming good to me. Good bench pieces, but RB2, it'll be tough. So I think Jeff might have some more trades in the work maybe. I think he needs to try to shore up that RB2 spot. But if he's confident in White and Moss taking him to the promised land, I think he has one of the best wide receiving cores in the league, and he's hoping to ride that out to victory lane, I think.
Yeah, we'll see how that plays out. So are we going to grade everybody then who made a trade today?
I was really just curious about Jeff because I think Jeff had really good trades and then really bad trades and then a pretty even trade, which I think this is more even. And then Ridley was really good, and then James White was more on the bad side. So, I mean, if you want to do everyone, we can. But I think Jeff had the most interesting day out of everybody.
Well, he did make the most trades, and we talked. Chris also made 2 different trades, but we talked about both of those being extremely close and even. So, I mean, that wouldn't be hard to grade. He probably gets an A. I think James had 2, or did he just have 1?
James just had 1.
He just had 1, and that was one of the super even ones. Dom was in that other even one. Then Dom gets Gaskin for White, so Dom might get a little higher A. I don't know.
A little more of an A plus.
I don't know if I want to call it A plus, but somewhere in the middle of A and A plus. Okay. I think Rudy gets a C for the trade with Jeff.
I agree.
And then Jimmy, I want to give you a D minus.
No F. I'm surprised no F.
I don't want to be a dick. I like Jimmy. He's a good guy, but he might have just fucked us all, because if you win another trophy, I'm gonna absolutely lose my mind. I like every time I think about you having Christian McCaffrey in your lineup, it just makes my blood pressure rise.
So you'd give me an A plus then.
I would give you an A.
Not an A plus. So Dom did better than me.
I'll give you an A.
Okay.
And then I think Lubasi may have given up a hair too much. I do still think that his trade was okay. I don't think it was extremely bad, but I think he may have given up a hair too much for what he got. I'm going to give Lubasi a B plus.
All right. So there's your your trade grades by Ryan. And I just, while you were saying everyone's grade, I just realized there's one person who hasn't made a trade all year. Do you know who that is?
It's got to be Matt.
It's Matt Burnham. Everyone else has made one trade at least, with Chewy being the trade with you. in the early season, and your trade being the first trade of the season. And everyone else except Matt made a trade today. And Matt, I know Matt was in the CMC, the McCaffrey sweepstakes. I think ultimately he lost. But yeah, it's interesting if Matt is feeling left out or if he has something up his sleeve.
Well, I don't know. I think at this point, everyone's going to have to wait for this day to settle because I have no idea who the fuck's on whose team right now. Like, if you just ask me, like, straight up, whose team this guy on, I don't have a clue because everyone just moved. Jimmy's got a completely new team. Jeff kind of has the same thing. Like, I mean, everyone's going to look so different now. I just want to emphasize, I just really hate the fact that I got to be the first one to play you now with your fucking super team that you've assembled. I feel that, you know what? I understand how the guys in the NBA feel when they have to play LeBron when he assembles the big three, you know? I get it.
I mean, it's going to be funny when this doesn't work out for me. I mean, granted, like I said, like on paper, it's good, but like anything can happen. And
well, yeah, and like every time I said what I said barring any major injuries, of course.
It's still interesting though. It's going to be interesting to see how my team.
I hope it doesn't work out. If it doesn't, then I'm just as happy.
But yeah, I mean, you have James, who is very good, and he showed why he was the number one ranked team in my power rankings week 1. He dropped 157, so I really needed to catch him. That was the guy I needed to catch, and I think I did catch him. I think Chewy is another guy that I was underrated coming into the season. He showed that he has a very good team, and those two are in my division. And then Chris is actually a surprising 2-0. We haven't really talked about Chris's team too much, but he's 2-0. So, I mean, my division is pretty tough right now, and I think I leapfrog over James with this trade, but I still think James has a very good shot at fighting for that division title.
Well, I hope you all lose. So we've got a Thursday night showdown this week between me and you with Brandon Cooks versus CMC. So we'll see how that goes.
Yeah, I wasn't too I knew I wanted CMC for Thursday night, but I don't like watching Thursday games with people in it. So, but I mean, CMC is not really a person. He's a guaranteed.
I don't know, that Texans defense. I heard they're pretty good up front.
So yeah, it'll be an interesting matchup. Yeah, we got Ryan and me, my matchup this week. That'll probably be the game of the week. I forgot to do a game of the week last week, so I just kind of try to do close games. But we'll do a game of the week this week, and I'll try to have power rankings done by tomorrow morning. I was pretty busy at work actually, and all this trade talk didn't help. So I was really focused on this trade talk and then the work. It was just a very crazy day. So power rankings should be out tomorrow morning, hopefully, and I'll try to write them in the morning as well.
All right, we got the Commissioner Bowl this week.
We do.
I like it. I don't like it now. I liked it a lot more this morning when I woke up. I was a little bit more optimistic, but we'll just have to wait and see. So that's going to do it for today. We wanted to outline all the trades per your guys' requests. That's what we think. Feel free to leave us a comment either under the video or on the page. Let us know what you think about all the trades. Let us know if you think our grades were accurate. We always love hearing from everybody. So hit us up. Talk some shit.
Peace.
Oh, we're out. We're out.
We're out.
Peace.